Applications of the law of diminishing marginal utility. The law of diminishing marginal utility has important applications. It is appropriate to consider several of them here, both because they shed light on the rationality of economic activity, and because, in one case at least, they provide positive confirmation of the fact that man's need for wealth is limitless. Resolution of the value paradox. As explained in the introduction, the law of diminishing marginal utility makes possible a resolution of the classical economist's paradox of value. The seeming paradox constituted by the fact that goods of apparently the lowest utility, such as diamonds, are normally more valuable in exchange than goods of apparently the highest utility, such as water. This apparent paradox was, of course, what prevented the classical economists from being able to ground their theory of exchange value and prices in utility. When people regard water as more useful than diamonds, what they have in mind is that if one had to choose between having no water or no diamonds, one would obviously choose to have no diamonds. Up to a considerable point, units of water are vastly more important than units of diamonds. But because of the operation of the law of diminishing marginal utility, a point is reached at which the utility of the marginal unit of water falls below the utility of the marginal unit of diamonds. The first gallon of water, the 101st, or probably even the 1001st gallon of water, is more important than the first carat of diamonds, or even the first 10 or 100 carats of diamonds taken together. But at some point, after one has all the water necessary for drinking, cooking, washing, irrigating, and so forth, the marginal utility of water falls below the marginal utility of diamonds. The extremity of the abundance with which nature provides water, and the extremity of the scarcity with which it provides diamonds, jointly operate to establish a far higher marginal utility of diamonds than of water in normal circumstances. Thus, the fact that in the normal circumstances of civilized life, people value diamonds above water is not at all paradoxical or irrational. It is perfectly consistent with considerations of genuine utility, provided the latter are properly understood. That is, in the light of the principle of diminishing marginal utility. By the same token, the fact that people nowadays desire to possess such things as power windows on their automobiles and are willing to pay substantial sums for what many may regard as relatively modest improvements in fashion or style is also perfectly consistent with rational principles of behavior. It is a question of the context of how much wealth or income one has available, and thus of the marginal utility to the individual of a unit of wealth or income. If one has a sufficient wealth or income, so that one is already able to provide for a very full satisfaction of such needs as those for food, clothing, and shelter, then indeed the most important use for the price of power windows, or the price of a relatively modest improvement in fashion or style, may well be the purchase of the power windows or the improvement in fashion or style. One must always consider what the individual's choices are in the context confronting him. If the choice is, for example, the power windows or an improvement in his hi-fi equipment, because all wants of greater importance are already provided for, then the purchase of the power windows may very well be the most important use for the money in question.